Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Binary Life. And here we teach new developers how to code by solving algorithm problems, and then you can see through the solving process how the thinking is done, and then you can eventually become software developers. Now, today we are going to solve previous multiple of 3. Let's try to read. So given a positive integer between the n is the integer between 0 and I don't know, whatever big number that is. This should be 1 million, 1 to the power 6, I guess so. Remove the last digit until you are left with a number that is a multiple of 3. Return n if the input is already a multiple of 3, and if no such number exists, return nil. A similar empty value or -1. So we can either return nil or an m or -1 or something like that. So this is an example. We're giving 1, which is not a multiple of 3, so we just return nil or javascript. I think this is because we don't have nil in other languages. That's why it talks of -1. Right. This is 25. If 25 is not a multiple of 3, so what do? We remove the 5, because that's what he said. He said remove the last digit until you're left with the multiple of 3. So if we remove 5, we're left with 2. 2 is also not a multiple of 3, so we return nil. Now this is a good example. 36 is exactly a multiple of 3, so we return 36. This is another one. We remove 4, we're left with 124, which is not a multiple of 3. We remove 4 again, and then 12 is left, so we return 12. So the first thing to do here is to do the first check. That's the first simple step. If n is a multiple of 3, that's how we check that modulo. Then we just return n. That's the very first part. Simple. The next part is doing now all this arithmetic here. All this arithmetic. And what should we do? The first thing I'm going to do, you can see that this number constantly changes, constantly stripped off progressively. So I'm going to do a copy of that. So I'm going to create a variable called the number copy, which is equal to n, because I don't want to modify the original number. That's not a good algorithmic practice. You should always be able to maintain the number that was given in the parameter. I think it has to do with, it's called pew function. You can search that on Google. Right, I just create a copy, and there is a repetitive action that goes on here. Like here for this last part, you can see we keep removing, like the whole of this number is not a multiple of 6. Let's try that. It ends with 6. Why is it not a multiple of 3? Let's try that on the console. Now let me exit this. I was doing some tests. Control C. So I'm in my terminal. I just type the node so that I can enter the node console. Let me increase the size. Right. So this number here, if I divide by 3, it's not a multiple of 3. So because it has a remainder. That is why we strip 6. Then the remaining number that ends with 0 is not a multiple of 3 until we arrive at 9. So I was saying there's a repetitive action that goes on as we keep stripping. We keep stripping until we meet a number that is divisible by 3. So I'm going to say while this copy, I'll be dealing with the copy from now on. Let's allow the original n. So while this copy is not divisible by 3, so how do we say not? This while is not divisible by 3. That's how we do that. I will keep doing this arithmetic here, this stripping off, and these are numbers. Numbers are immutable. You cannot just strip off a number easily like that. We need to convert to an array. There may be a way to do that, but I don't know. What we'll do is I'm going to convert to an array, because with an array it's easy to remove the last part of the array. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create another variable, which is my number copy in array format. And how do I convert to array? I'll take the number copy and convert it to a string like this in JavaScript, and then I'm going to split like this. It's going to convert to an array. When I've done that, I'm going to remove the last number like it's done here, and it's done with the pop. When I'm done, this remaining number becomes this minus the 6 part. I'm going to reconvert this to, in fact, the best way to do that is to do console log so that we can see how it looks like. So if I console.log this, the number copy array, I think with I'll also display console.log the original number, right? We have some errors. Invalid unexpected token. I don't know where it's coming from. Let's try to debug. This is part of the learning process. So I have copied these. Why this is different from 0? Oh, I see. This is the number copy array here. Right. Let's test the code. I think we have a loop that never ends. I'm going to just return something, and let's try one more time. Right. So this was the initial number, it's 1, and then when that is stripped off, remember we converted to an array here at line 7, and then we remove the last number, so we're left with an empty array when we console log. That's what we have here. Now for this case, you can look at this case here. The initial number is 25. That's the first console log. This initial number is 25, and when we strip 5, there's just one pop-up. When we strip 5, it's left with 2. Is it? So the whole thing works. This is another one here. 1, 2, 4, 4. When we strip the last 4, this is what we're left with. Right, that's it. Now once it's stripped, we need to reconsider the whole of this block like a number so that we can test if it's divisible by 3. So I need to bring back this number copy into an array. That's what I'm going to, into a number, sorry. I need to bring this array into a number. And how do we do that? We go like this. We take the array and then we join it back. It becomes a whole number. And then since we're in a while loop, the while will automatically do the tests. So I'm going to do another console log so you can see how the whole mechanism works. I'll do it just after that. And when we join it, we're going to change the original number. First of all, we copy this end, so now the original number has changed because we have stripped the last part of the number. So I'm going to console log this number here, this, right, and I can command the return this time around, and let's test. Right, so this is 1. When it's stripped off, we have an empty string, and this is 1, 2, 4. When we remove 4 from here, we are left with 1, 2, 4. When we remove the last 4, we are left with 12. Okay, I'm going to convert, but this is a string. Remember, initially n was a number. Now it's a string here. We need to do when we do the join, we need to convert to a number. So I'm going to put a plus here. Let's test one more time. Right, I think we're getting to the answer. This is 1. When we strip and we want to join back, there is nothing to join, so it goes to 0. That's normal behavior. This is 25. We remove 5, we're left with 2. After that, we remove the 2, we're left with nothing. Normal behavior. The same thing here. 124, 1244 goes to 124, goes to 12. At 12 it stops because it's detect that you cannot enter this while loop because it's actually divisible by 0. I think we're going to get the solution. This is another one. We can see the whole of that cycle repeating itself until we arrive at 9, which is divisible by 3. I mean, not 0, divisible by 3, sorry. Right, so what are we left to do? We are left to return number copy, actually, if it's different from 0. Because one, we keep stripping. If we arrive at a certain point where the last number, like here for this case, the last number left was 2. 2 wasn't divisible by number, wasn't divisible by 3. So we had to strip and pop and join, and we were left with 0. That's it. So how do I finally solve this algorithm? I'm going to do a last check. So if the number copy that we're left with here is divisible by 3, then we're going to return the number copy. Or let's say if it's different from 0, yeah, like for this particular scenario here, after we strip, if it's 0, let's just say if it's 0, that means we have nil here. So if it's 0, then we return nil. Right. In the contrary, we'll just return the number copy that we're left with. Something like that. Let's test again. And it passes the test. If I strip this down so that you can see the whole process again, let's run it one more time. So the first thing, this is a number, just console log. That is what we have here. And then if the whole number is a multiple of 3, we just return the whole number, but it doesn't apply for our case. So we copy the number and then we check if the copy is divisible by, if it's not divisible by 3, for this case it's not, so we split it to an array. The whole process is to be able to remove the last digit, this 6, remove the whole digit, and then this cycle is going to continue until we meet a number that is divisible by 3. If we don't meet, we are going to have a 0. So it keeps doing the cycle until we are left with 9 here. 9 here. That's why it quits the while loop and then it checks if that number is 0. For this case, it's not 0, it's 9. So if it's 0, it's going to return nil and quit the program. Else, it's going to continue. For this case, it's going to continue because we are left with 9, so we'll return the copy. That's it. Now, if I take this scenario here, you arrive to a point where it's 0 here. When n is 25, it arrives where non-copy becomes 0. So it's going to return nil. So I can just remove this console log and the return statement and remove this other console log here. And run our code one more time. And execute it one final round. For the final test, I think it validates all the other scenarios. Test pass everywhere. And let's just submit. And this is another solution. If the number is 0, return nil. If it's divisible by 3, return n. Oh, that's the first check that we did. And then this one, it's calling it did it in a recursive function way. So he recalls the function with the initial number sliced, that is with the last digit removed. Let's test this so that you can see how it works in the console. Just this last part. So if we're given a number like this, this is our number here. 952406. That's it. So if I take this number n and convert to a string, this is what we get. And then if I slice, when I convert to a string, I slice, that's the number starts from 0 without including the last digit. That's what it means. As consider the digit except the last one. I could do something like this, -2 except the last 2 digits. So when you say -1, it's without the last digit, so 6 is not there. Without the last 2, 0 and 6 is absent. That's what he did. So he recalls the function in a recursive manner without the last digit, and then he keeps checking. This is a very clever solution actually. I don't think we can get more clever than this. This one, it does the math.floor n divided by 10 and the rest. This is this is another mathematical operation to remove the last digit. That's it. Well, I think this is another operation to remove the last digit. While we were doing the conversion to string and popping and the rest, this is another alternative for that. Right, I'm going to stop here, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for viewing, and don't forget to subscribe because there will be multiple algorithms coming on. You have a nice day.